But I think we should set the scene first. The fact that, you know, I'm a noob when it comes to pop culture.
No, we will. So the first thing I'll do is introduce us and what we're here for.
Yeah.
I'm already recording.
That's fine, doesn't matter.
This is good. This is good that you're recording.
I'm going to snip that noob when it comes to...
So we are here to review movies.
Yes.
And welcome to From the Abyss to Zoolander movie review.
Is that what we're called?
That's what my website's called.
Okay.
That's what our movie review website's called.
A to Z. I just got it.
A to Z. The Abyss to Zoolander.
Okay,
it's completely wrong now though, because it should be like the A team to Zootopia.
Oh, okay.
But when we started, it was
worry.
From the Abyss to Zoolander.
Cool.
So this is our first audio review.
Yeah, I know. Exciting,
We've
right?
only ever done blog posts to begin with, but this is the first audio review, and it's very, very exciting.
The first of many, we shall say.
First of many, yeah. And so I'm Benny D.
I'm Yanks.
I'm Ast.
Nice name there.
Nice name. Nice name. What?
It's really important that you place the emphasis on the T, or else it just becomes us. But anyways,
Whatever.
We'll roll with that.
And we thought it would be a good idea, because Endgame comes out next week. We should talk about Infinity War, which came out last year. Yanks is...
As we said earlier.
The only person in the world, I think, that's never seen a Marvel film.
Questionable.
Let's clarify that, actually. So, Spider-Man.
I feel like I've always been like, oh, superheroes are totally not my thing. So I've never bothered watching any of them. But
you have seen the Hulk with Eric Bana.
yes, a very, very long time ago. And I don't remember what happened apart from him just destructing like a lot of shit.
With
which is absolutely
expandable
fair.
pants.
And the Tobey
Yes.
Maguire Spider-Man films.
Yeah. Andrew Garfield's one as well.
Oh, Andrew Garfield ones.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So
That was pretty much the extent of like my Marvel knowledge.
Okay.
And then coming into Infinity War, I was just like, oh, can't be bothered. Don't think I'm actually going to enjoy it. And then 2 minutes in, I was so intrigued and I was just like, tell me more.
But was that because you were just attracted to Hemsworth? Or...
No, he wasn't in the first 2 minutes.
Yeah, he was.
No, he wasn't.
It was. It was Asgard. It was his ship.
Oh, was he?
Remember
Yeah.
the blue square thing? And Thanos is like,
I
hi.
don't think I even noticed him in the first 2 minutes of the movie.
Wow. Okay.
You know, remember he
but
was
like, that's
there,
for
and
maybe
he's
second
like,
viewing.
hello, I'm being slammed around, and then the Hulk comes in.
And then they put like a thing under his... They cover his mouth up because he's talking too much.
Yeah. Okay, but that was definitely not the point that I was like drawn in.
Yeah, sorry. I was...
He doesn't have his second eye yet.
It was...
You can't dream into the dreamy eye.
Yeah.
That is true. It was only when he got a second eye that I was really interested in him.
When he stopped being a pirate. A pirate of Asgard.
So, I'm sure most people listening to this have seen Infinity War, but for those that don't realise, it's taken 10 years to get to this movie.
Yeah.
Over 20 films in the MCU, Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Thank you for elaborating.
And yeah, this is the culmination of 10 years of Marvel films. And, you know, ever since that first Avengers film, we've been hearing about Thanos, and he's kind of been this background character. Now we finally get to see him
In action.
action. And I gotta say, they did that so well, because Thanos is established in the first 10 minutes as someone that's
A force to be reckoned
so
with.
powerful.
Yeah.
Like, he takes down Thor, he takes down the Hulk,
True.
and he kills Loki. Spoiler alert. So, the two strongest Avengers he handles pretty easily, and then he kills the greatest villain that the Avengers have ever known.
Right.
So, automatically, in that first 10 minutes, he's already established as being this badass that, you know, don't mess with him.
Yeah.
And
Actually,
I thought they did that so well.
Like, can we talk about that actually? Because I didn't know who Thanos was at all, right? And you're right, coming into the movie, I was like, okay, he is definitely one of the most important characters, and they established his presence really well. However, so they do mention him in the previous movies? Like, you do know of his existence?
Yeah, no, you do. But he's only ever been in movies. He's been in a few movies, and it's only ever been for like a minute or two, if that.
Right.
Sometimes it was only just like one shot of his face or something.
Why did it take so long for him to even appear as like a prominent character? Like, is that something they were just like waiting at?
Because this is this is what it was all leading to.
Right.
This movie was getting there.
That, and it takes a while to travel across space without the Tesseract.
Because I feel like, man, that would be so annoying. Because it's like for the last 10 years you've been watching like the Hulk, Spider-Man, and you're like, wow, look at all these like really super powerful men and women, and then all of a sudden he just walks in 10 minutes and he's just like, oh, you're dead.
Yeah, well, you know, everyone loves a dramatic experience, entrance, and that's his dramatic entrance there.
I guess.
You sound so disappointed.
Wow, okay, yeah, I didn't realize that he wasn't really around in the previous ones.
And it's really interesting that you haven't seen any of it.
Yeah.
Because when we were watching it together, I started thinking, what would that be like? Because like there's, just for an example, there's a moment where Bucky and Cap meet each other.
Yeah,
and Bucky just goes, I'm a 102-year-old former assassin, or whatever he says. And I was just thinking to myself, Jesus, that's like 3 movies worth of you know, plot, and he's just said it as some throwaway line. If you didn't know what had happened before, it would have just meant nothing to you.
Yeah, it just went right over my head, absolutely. Because there were bits and pieces I noticed that you guys were like giggling at, and I were like, oh, that's a good reference to this movie, and I'd be like, I don't get it, but I'll just laugh along and pretend like I do.
That's actually a good point. Like, from a character design perspective, did you get most of the characters, what they were about? Like, did you understand the conflicts between Captain America and Iron Man, their standpoint, and then, you know, the whole relationship between the Hulk and Black Widow, and you were like, yeah, that's pretty obvious because they just stared at each other for like 5 seconds.
No, I think the one good thing that Infinity Wars does do is the fact that it sets like the whole premise really well, in the sense that they are after these like Infinity Stones, and like I understand that, and I understand why like these people are after it, because it is like leads to a very powerful position basically. But when it comes to like each character and their personal history with each other, I have no idea what that stems from, why they feel like that about each other. I have no clue what's happening when it comes to that space. Yeah. And that's only going to come from me watching like their probably individual movies and trying to understand what their backgrounds are.
But even in Infinity War, some of that was new to viewers as well.
Right, yeah.
Like the whole Vision and Scarlet Witch relationship. That's the first time we've ever seen that.
Okay.
I mean, I've read the comics, so I know about it. Yeah. And it was kind of a nice little shout out to the comic book readers.
But on the other hand,
if you hadn't read the comics, you would just be like, what is going on?
Right.
And not only that,
how did these two get together?
And I was sitting there half the time going, this is probably one of the most unexciting romance plots that I've looked at. Yeah. I mean, some romance plots were pretty forced, like the Hulk and Scarlet Witch, but this was pretty, like, okay, that's very left field.
Yeah.
I didn't
that's
see that
actually
coming.
the only one that I think I picked up on. When Hulk walks in and then, like, what did she say? She was like, oh, it's nice to see you again, or something like that. And, like, you could sense the tension between the two of them. Like, that's the only probably, like, history that I picked up on between the two characters. I was like, there's definitely something there. Yeah. But the others, I don't think I necessarily...
Like, it was interesting from my perspective, because seeing how they grouped the characters into their different fights or different storylines really plays on what I felt from the previous movies, the dynamics between the characters. They knew which dynamics worked really well. But going in from a fresh perspective, how did you find the plot, like the pacing of the characters and the placements of the characters throughout the movie?
There were definitely a lot of characters and a lot of new ones, obviously, because I haven't watched any of the previous ones. But I actually think they did a really good job of introducing each one and pacing them throughout the movie. Like, it wasn't a massive introduction to like a ton. Instead, they kind of placed each character probably like, you know, every few minutes they would introduce a new one, and it felt like there was enough for me to be like, okay, I now recognize who you are, and they actually moved forward with that person, which was really good, because then I could like actually mentally map out who was where and what was actually happening. So I don't think I ever felt confused throughout the movie as to where these random people were coming from, which was really good. I think they did that really well, considering it was 2.5 hours, and the number of characters that they introduced was a lot.
They did such a good job there.
They really did.
Because this, with that many characters, and that many actor egos, I mean, you wouldn't have heard about this, but when Avengers came out, Jeremy Renner just complained the whole time that his character was just a zombie, had no role, and he was really upset about that. And you know, they ended up giving him better roles later. But with this many characters in one movie, this could have been a debacle. And they really did do a great job of picking which characters went well together.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as I saw the Doctor Strange solo film, I was like, I can't wait for him to talk to Tony Stark. And they spent a lot of time together. And Thor, after Ragnarok, just fit in so perfectly with the Guardians of the Galaxy. So yeah, the combinations that they decided to go with were perfect.
Yeah,
I really like that.
That was one of my biggest worries because I really did feel it in Ultron. I felt some scenes were just really jarring because Ultron was also a big cast. They like expanded from Avengers, introduced more superheroes or super villains in some cases. It was a bit okay. Some scenes were a bit dragging, but I felt the pacing of this movie was a bit better. Yeah, it's probably the best I could probably hope for such a big cast. So,
So what was the highlight of the film for you guys?
Oh, okay.
Rabbit. No, just
Not gonna lie though, I think the reason why I really liked Thor's personality was because he was just so simple with everything. This is tree, this is rabbit. That like comedic element was really what I was here for. I loved that aspect of the movie.
And I'm really glad that Chris Hemsworth gets to do that because you've seen it in stuff like Ghostbusters, where he was the funniest part of that film, and Thor Ragnarok, where he finally got to be a funny Thor, and he is very funny, and it's really good they're capitalizing on that.
Yeah, it's actually quite interesting because you're coming into a period where he's actually grown into the character quite well. If you went back and watched Thor 1 and Thor 2, it's a very different vibe. Even the first Avengers, he's a bit stiff and kind of out of place.
Yeah. Even like when in the first Avengers, when he makes a joke about, well, it's not really a joke, but he's like defending Loki, and then Black Widow says, "Oh, he killed 75 people or whatever," and Thor goes, "Oh, he's adopted." That delivery is not great.
Yeah.
And I feel like if they reshot that scene now,
it'd be a lot
better.
A lot stronger.
Yeah.
That's what I think. Whereas personally for me, like the best thing about these movies is I find all the Earth shots really boring, to be honest. I find it's like fair enough, whatever city they're in, but I really like seeing like the Guardians of the Galaxy, like going out there and exploring the unknown, like the whole forge around the sun. That was pretty cool. Like, avoiding what happens in there with Peter Dinklage. But, the whole Forge scene was really cool. And the whole nowhere bit or going into Thanos' home planet, I found that really exciting to see. So that's what I'm always keen about, these superhero movies, because it brings it out of the normal.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about yourself?
My favourite moment was when you first see Cap. You first see Captain America in that train station, and his music starts going, and he's like a silhouette, but the music starts, and you're like, oh my god, it's Cap.
It's happening.
It's Captain America. It's so cool.
Is he your favorite, like, out of the lot? Is that okay? Right.
Yeah, Cap's my favorite character.
Really?
But why? Like, as in, what is it about him? Because I feel like they didn't really establish maybe him as much as he's had his own movie as well, I guess. But like in Infinity Wars, I didn't necessarily associate like his powers and everything to him. It was just another character.
So Cap always does the right thing.
Okay.
He's very, very honourable.
Sure.
And he doesn't care who he upsets.
Okay.
And that there's if you go and watch Civil War, you'll see where he doesn't like the way things are going, and he stands up for that.
Is he from Earth as well? Like are all the human characters all from Earth?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Except for Thor.
Yeah, except for Thor.
Right. Yep. Okay.
And I just like that he's flawed as well.
Yeah.
And they're all flawed in some way, but
actually, you know what? That was probably my biggest takeaway. I think the reason why I really liked the Marvel universe, I guess, is because each character, as much as they all had their powers, they weren't invincible. They all had their limitations associated to them, and I really liked that because even when in the first 2 minutes, even when like Thanos is all like, I can beat all of you guys, I didn't expect it to go that way. I thought it was going to be a very clear-cut win where all these superheroes would just like, form a pact and they'll just bring him down and that would be the end.
High fives everywhere.
High fives everywhere and all these people are like cheering them along, and I thought it was just going to be this really cliched ending. And I think that's where I was wrong because when I watched it, I was like, wow, okay, they actually do get defeated, and it's because they do have their set of limitations as well. So that was a really cool thing.
And I honestly think that's the difference between about this movie and the previous movies, because if you look at any other superhero movie, it is along that same lines. They lose the first battle, they regroup, then they overcome the thing. But you must remember, you have to take this as a part one.
Yeah.
So
Still, I know it's a part one, but that ending,
Yeah.
I still can't watch it without getting emotional.
Really?
Oh yeah, you watch all your favorite characters disappear.
Yeah, true, okay. I mean,
And
I guess...
I remember the first time I saw it, I walked out of the theater like I'd been punched in the stomach.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what
Because
just
the last
happened?
10 years of your life...
What just happened?
Yeah. Has been, like, establishing these characters.
Yeah.
And then in 1 second, they're just all gone. He just snaps his fingers and that's it.
And I really like the way that they did that scene. Like, the music just cuts.
Yep.
The way that they did the directional footage for that.
It was done really well.
Yeah.
And props to Disney and props to the director on that one, just like to follow through with that snap, because we all know
Yeah.
that the backup was, yay, we all win.
Yeah.
Like if
Well,
they needed to do.
I've read that the snap wasn't supposed to happen until in the original script. The snap was happening in the next one.
Right.
And I feel like having it happen in this movie made it that much more emotional. And being able to see all those characters, it almost gave the film an ending.
Yeah.
And the ending was that they lost.
Yeah.
And that's never happened before.
Especially in a superhero genre.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
you always expect the good guys to
Yeah.
win.
Yeah.
Which is really different. So I guess summing up, coming in from your perspective, Yanks, because you haven't seen any Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Have you been converted? Would you watch the Marvel movie? How did you find it?
Yes, I've literally... So, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but last weekend, I just sat there watching Defenders. So, I'm literally on to, like, the next thing that I can grab. And I'm now watching... I think I'm... What am I watching at the moment? I'm watching Daredevil. So it's happening. It's a thing. I am definitely like, onto it.
She's got catching up to do, but she's
I
getting
have
there.
a ton of catching up to do, but I feel like, slow and steady. And I really like the plots, like even like the individual plots that they have going on for each character. So, it's definitely a work in progress, but I think I have been converted.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's actually a really good outcome. And that's the difference
Yeah.
between, I think, how Marvel does movies compared to a lot of the other people doing superhero movies out there, or
Yeah.
superhero series. Is just the way that they can.
You can
bring
say
audiences
DC.
in.
You can
Oh,
say,
I can
Name
tip
drop
around it.
them.
Yeah.
DC, but
DC are not doing a very good job.
but for me, like, I've seen this movie before, and coming into this, I thought
Yeah.
it'll be a boring experience, like yada yada yada. This is gonna happen, but I actually found it really enjoyable. So, which is very surprising for me. So I'm giving it top marks for that.
Yeah. I think Infinity Wars in general was just like a really good introduction into the world as well. Kind of gave me a good background before delving into each individual character, which is good.
How about you, Benny
Props to
D?
you guys.
I loved it.
Well,
I
Blanket statement, just...
no words can
no,
describe
it's
the
not
love
that.
for this
It's just,
movie.
it could have been so bad.
Was there any weak point for you in the plot?
Not really.
No? I guess... I mean,
Because I'd say, like I said, Cap's my favorite.
Sure.
I would have probably liked to have seen him get a bit of a bigger role, but I have a feeling he's going to be front and center in Endgame.
Yeah.
So I'm not.
I mean, in the poster, isn't he like the biggest one there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So.
So I'm not too concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah. Couldn't fault it.
Not really.
Okay.
I mean, there have been issues in previous Marvel films, but this one I thought they did such a good job, and it could have been terrible.
Yeah.
Really, really easily so terrible. Look at Justice League.
Well, I mean.
Wow. just say that straight out
know.
there. Maybe that's the next movie we
Maybe.
should watch.
Yeah.
Is that a DC thing, by the way?
Yeah.
Is that a DC thing?
So join us next time when we make Yanks watch Justice League.
Alright. Looks like I'm the guinea pig.
Don't forget to comment, subscribe.
Yeah.
Like, comment, and
No,
subscribe.
we're not on YouTube. But okay, if you want to, you know what to do.
Alright. Catch you guys next time.